Welcome to Fargo Talks Fargo, an unofficial podcast on the FX television series. Fargo Talks Fargo is hosted by me, Bill, and my buddy Charpie. Charpie, what is going on?
Hey now!
We also drink beer. Many of the times it is from Fargo Brewing Company at fargobrewingcompany.com. Not a paid sponsor right now.
Nope.
Just kidding. Maybe
I am drinking
we talked to him.
Coffee. Cold brew, nitro coffee from Hotbox Roasters. Owned by Oscar Blues.
Okay.
A brewery. So that's close to beer.
Close enough. Close enough. So, go ahead. As you take your giant sip of your coffee.
The hot dish is cold.
Yeah,
it's gone.
Yep. It's gone. Sorry, folks. So we hope you enjoyed the interview we put up with Maggie Phillips, and thanks so much again to Maggie for taking the time to talk to us on the show. I apologize. I'm sorry. I apologize for missing the hot dish. I was gone. I was out of town. I was in South Dakota, and this is the most hilarious thing. I'm not going to cut this from the show. Charpie just leaned back and his headphones unplugged, and now I'm watching him feverishly try to figure out how to plug his headphones. I'm just keeping it in the show, Charpie. I wish I was running video of your face when you unplugged your headphones.
I couldn't figure it out.
Oh, it was like watching a kid who couldn't get it back in his pants fast enough when mom and dad walked in the room. Oh my god. Anyway, I was just apologizing that the hot dish was not your fault. It was all mine. I was traveling for work, and my video production schedule ran later into the night, so even as the show aired, I was unable to see it because I hadn't done it, and then I was on a flight Thursday. Oh, what a mess. Anyway, we're so sorry.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
So you didn't get a hot dish. Hopefully, you're still alive.
Yeah. Could be worse. You could be dead. And
it kind of is unfortunate that we didn't do a hot dish this week because this was the perfect episode for a hot dish. Because the shit just hit the fan, and it was an amazingly fun episode to watch.
See, I feel the opposite. This was a perfect week to not do a hot dish because
really?
I don't think you and I could have shut up enough.
True.
To be able to record a full episode later. We would have gone crazy.
It would have been a slow-cooked, long, crock-potty hot dish.
I was going to say, it would have been the pot roast.
Yeah, it would have been a pot roast.
Welcome to another edition of the pot roast. Okay, so let's get down to it. Let's stop dicking around. We already made him miss a show. So, holy shit. I want to talk real quick about cinematography just for a second before we get real meaty.
Okay.
What did you think? I mean, the really, really stark and barren in the whole first half. Even the very first thing of the "this is a true story" got broken up into pieces in the effort to
that was totally different.
Tell a story.
Yeah.
Did you like that? You tend to notice those things.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I don't like it like any more than the other variations by any means, but it did tell you that this episode is going to be different than other episodes. So right away, you kind of had a feeling like, okay, now we're starting to, that things are going to start wrapping up, and you're going to start to see some things tied together that you have maybe been trying to predict or otherwise like just get answers to.
Yeah. I just thought it was really visually appealing and different that it would like cut to these scenes showing us this amount of care and precision going into tipping over a bus versus, maybe just stepping out into the road with a shotgun.
Yeah.
And stopping the bus driver. They're like, no, we're gonna build a stunt thing. How they flip cars in stunt shows, and we're gonna put that right in the middle of the road, and we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna have all these interesting details like showing you the Ram van. The Ram is another head. And Meemo was wearing the goat head and all that. But season 3, episode 8, who rules the land of denial? I've got a rant about this. Do you want? You've
got a
go
rant
for it?
already. All right, let's.
Not a rant, just a holy shit. This is where I think about it. So the who's in denial, and I realized after I kind of walked away from watching it yesterday that this is about a lot of denial. Everybody's somewhere in some sort of denial. So the audience, to me, we've been in denial talking about whether Nikki's love for Ray was real.
Yep.
You were more wrong than me, in my opinion, because I kind of, in my heart of hearts, want Nikki to be a good person, a good-ish person.
Okay, let me respond.
No, There's no responses. Just kidding. Go ahead. Respond to that.
No, I think you are right. And I was definitely on Nikki's side for a good portion. I was on her side up until she was shown the picture of Ray's dead body. And then I started having denial, as you say. So
sure.
I started to sway to the other side, that maybe Nikki was a conspirator of some sort, in some sort of crimey fashion. But you're definitely right. I was more wrong. So I'll give you that. Continue.
Okay, fine. Men, in general, in denial about women being right.
What?
All the men of this TV show have a certain amount of power being in denial about women being right. You've got Gloria and Winnie. They're on the right path. They know, but they're constantly being like shut down by men who are in denial about their ability to do their jobs better than they can. Whether it's Chief Asshole Damick, or that other boss of Winnie's, or the guy on the road who I don't have my notes pulled up to that part, who's like, what does your thing say? Does your badge say Marshall? Fuck off. She knows everything that's going and completely clear this story up for you, but she's learned enough to just walk away from an asshat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So men in denial about women. Gloria in denial about the end of her marriage, mostly. Until the very end of this show, she's like, you know what? Forget it. Think about it. She's in such denial that she didn't want to sign the paper after the guy had Christmas at her house with her kid with her boyfriend. That's
with his
denial,
boyfriend.
Dude.
Yeah.
Emmit in denial that, and the big one for me was I realized that Emmit came fully around to, he's been living in denial and fully admitted that he took advantage of his little brother all those years ago in the driveway when his father died.
Mm-hmm.
In the driveway. So that's a lot of denial to go around.
That is definitely.
And I'm probably missing some, but to me, so now it's like, who rules in this land in denial? Because you think about all the characters we're covering. We're in the story, all of us as viewers. The men and the women of like law enforcement in the story. Gloria is part of the story. Emmett's in the story. I mean, Sai maybe was the only one who's not in any kind of denial at all. He seems to see things pretty clearly, but now he's being denied consciousness, I guess. But so on the characters that are sort of on what I'd call the light side of the fence,
Okay.
You've got Nikki, Gloria and Winnie, Emmett, all these people that are kind of being taken advantage of by these dark forces, and the land that they're living in, this land of denial. I'm reading way too much into this, but it doesn't matter anymore.
It matters.
So that's my
it matters
that's my
to
thing.
me.
Oh, I love you, buddy.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great little rundown. I like it. I especially
all right,
like
we'll see you next week.
Yep. Next week, Hot Dishes on Wednesday.
Maybe.
Twice as big this time.
Twice as big.
I love your take on the men denying the women, because I think that's something that isn't really brought up in a lot of other forums that talk about this show. So I think that's pretty cool. I do want to say that it seems like we got it right about Nikki and Wrench, and how Wrench would come to the aid of Nikki and be her protector. Not really a protector per se, but a teammate.
Yeah, it was very, oh brother, where art thou?
Yes.
They're in it. They're the minute they got their hands linked together, they are instantly teammates, like it or not.
Mm-hmm. And that was a fairly obvious reference, but I did love that. I loved them running across the sort of woodsy plains. A couple of those shots were just beautiful. I loved their teamwork, their sort of surprise killing of DJ Qualls, whatever his name is.
Road Trip
guy. Now I know his name.
His name is DJ.
Some people have called him Gollum, which is pretty funny. When they're choking him out with that chain, and then they accidentally, they weren't purposely trying to cut his head off, I don't think.
I think that there's just so much adrenaline running in you that you they're both pushing with their legs. So you got four people's power of their quads and legs just pushing hell against somebody's neck. Ugh.
So we still have a lot of shots of feet. Did you notice that through this episode?
I've always noticed it. And it's not about having a foot fetish. They showed her boots walking in the snow. They showed feet. There's just a lot of that.
Yeah, I wonder what the deal is with that.
You probably have a better point to make than I do there.
I just had a little note of that just continues to be a theme throughout this show is feet and wet feet. And I don't know if that's because, your feet can be like a vulnerability at times, especially traipsing through cold, wet worlds.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like even so there's the shot I know that was of Gloria's boots walking through the slushy snow, because we've seen feet and wetness of snow dripping from people's feet since episode 1 with Jacob Ungerleider, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Right?
Something like that.
And then we do get another scene. Granted, it's a scene used a lot in cinematography of feet stepping in water, because there is a scene where I made a note about, no matter what, Yuri is committed to those Adidas he's wearing, no matter how wet his feet get. So it was fun, and I mean, in true Fargo fashion, Deck the Halls is playing too, as those unsuspecting tourists or whoever locals drive by.
Yeah, so let's go to that scene. So lots of cool things happening. I liked being able to revisit the bus tipping over. Like you said earlier, they went through this sort of elaborate method of doing this by building this like stunt ramp thing.
Yeah.
But I love how they go through all the effort to do this, and then they just kind of casually pull it off still, in the sense that they know it's going to work. So, I loved how Yuri steps onto the road just casually, knowing that that's going to keep the bus from going into the other lane and not going over their obstacle. And I thought that was done with just this, like, such just this evil, what is the word I'm looking for? Just the fact that he just knew it was he knew it was going to work, and there's no doubt about it. He just kind of like 2 steps that keeps the bus from going over. Bus hits the ramp. I thought that was awesome. It's just his confidence in it. And again, I'm reading into it too much too, but his confidence. I don't know if
you are. I don't think you are. I think the part you're forgetting is that you know what it's like to live up here, and how often on those roads that are like that, those 2-lane head-to-head roads in the woods, how often little animals and things step into the road and how quickly you have to react to them. And he had a wolf thing on his head. So I don't even, it's like, if you're the bus driver, I'm not actually sure that you knew it was a person. All you knew is you came around and you're like, there's something in the road and then something else in the road, and there's no reaction but to just do it. Because I've even heard insurance people say, if you see a deer in the road, just hit it. Don't swerve, because the swerving ends up making it worse for you sometimes, because you miss the deer, then you flip off the road, and all sorts of,
Yeah,
shit
you can
ensues.
slow down. Don't slam the brakes. Slow down, but keep going straight. Even when there's a wolf in a tracksuit in front of you.
So I don't know. I feel okay. And his hair was perfect. But yeah, it was. They seem to have this figured out. This wasn't their first time trying to figure out how to extract a person, I felt like.
But here is what I don't really get. It seems like a very elaborate plan to take out Nikki Swango, who's basically already taken care of. Like, she's in jail. She's locked up. She's kind of out of the picture already. I don't really understand their drive to still feel like they have to kill her, because she doesn't really even have a lot of like hard evidence against this Fargo Corporation. I mean,
she's in danger because of Gloria and Winnie, because they've seen VM Varga and some of the people around the office, and that if she starts describing people like, yeah, this dude in a tracksuit and a small Asian man in a red jacket, and if she says no, if she gets a chance in front of Gloria to say, I was beaten up by a Russian guy and a small Asian man in a red jacket, they're going to be like, Gloria's going to be like, I saw some of those people, possibly.
That's true.
So I think that that's why she's a liability, is that she's here's the deal. The women are the liability in this story.
Yeah, but does the Varga team know that Nikki Swango's connected to Gloria?
I'm not completely positive about that.
Those are two dots I'm not sure I can connect, but it's possible I'm missing something.
It could be. And you know what? Here's the other thing we don't know. That could have been more evident. It just didn't make the cut.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? That wouldn't be the first time in TV or film that we miss something we could know about because of whatever, but still, it's a really fun scene to revisit from the perspective somewhat of Wrench, because everything's muffled. We can't hear things because of his deafness. But what a great scene as they're running away, and he's like, I'm deaf, and she's like chained to a deaf guy. Jesus.
Yeah. And how about the fact that even it was the deaf guy that saved them from incoming baddies.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, shh, be quiet and duck down. They're coming. And the Nikki Swango, the cat, didn't even notice that. The one that can hear.
Yeah.
That's just how in tune Mr. Wrench is, because he's a bad motherfucker.
Damn right. Yeah, but she was kind of sort of knocked out still, wasn't she?
I don't know about that. Where they're running. This is when they're running around in the woods.
That. Yeah. Yeah, he just seemed to have a slightly more innate sense of his surroundings, regardless of sound.
Right.
But this scene where they're walking, where Nikki was having those flashbacks, that's definitely one for me. I was like, I wrote, she loved him. She feels guilty when she started having those audible voices of Ray saying, no, I'll go. And she knows, it's almost like she knows deep down that she was a little more sly than he was, and she should have gone.
That was pretty cool. That was a very nice touch to start to hear her conscience, basically. And that's how you knew that that basically solidified, that she was real. She was, her love for Ray was honest, and you start to feel her guilt a little bit. And then you start to get a little bit emotional because she's missing her Ray. And
her Ray.
And she's feeling a little guilty about it, meanwhile trying to survive by being chained to a deaf man and hunted down by wolves and pigs.
I feel like running in that giant wolf hat thing would be really hard. You'd constantly be just holding it onto your head, like trying to run through the forest.
It keeps falling on your face.
Yeah, like trying to run through with a bridal veil on you, and it keeps catching in the twigs and trees. And you're like, God damn it!
The scene where Yuri and the Gollum road trip guy, they're behind a stack of wood, and it's right before the hunters shoot the wolf head mask off of Yuri, but they're sitting behind this wood and they're looking at not Gloria, Nikki and Wrench running through the plains or forest or whatever, and you can tell that wolf mask is just gotta be so annoying. It's covering his eyes and so slowly slipping down. It's a lot of work to go through to I guess look like a badass or what, but in that shot specifically, it looks comical.
Yes.
Especially I guess because of those two characters just in general are just kind of a interesting duo. And then we see road trip guy has a tattoo that says Helga on it,
which I think is important that we remember Helga, because Helga Ungerleiger at 349 Strasse was one of the people we lost early on in East Berlin in 1988. Did you remember that, or am I just reminding you now?
No, I remember that. Of course,
okay.
I remember that.
You were just awful quiet. That was all. And he's like, I knew a Helga once.
Yeah. So let's we can chat now. Let's chat about it now. Are you worried about chatting about? Remember how we talked about in the very beginning, the whole Pravda na Pravda, the whole identities being mistaken, and how this Jacob guy was being blamed for the murder of Helga, and he was just trying to say, no, it's this Yuri guy or whatever, or I'm not Yuri or whatever, I'm not Yuri, I'm Jacob. And then we were trying to decide if this Yuri could have been that Yuri, but we were thinking that it wasn't just because of the age. Are we to a place now where this is the same Yuri?
I don't think so.
No?
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
I'm not completely positive yet because this would involve us having a conversation about the word I'm forgetting. Sorry, dude. I have it. I have way too many notes today. It's the same base. Okay, here we go. I don't have the word yet, but I'm going to talk about it without having it. It's the whole idea that you can be reincarnated or your soul can enter the body of another thing, and I think that that's what's happened. That maybe the Yuri we knew of is gone, but he's in this other. He has taken another form, or maybe he is in and of himself something else. Like Paul Wise, is that his name?
Ray Wise, Paul Wise, Paul Morainer.
Help me if I can figure out his name right now. Sorry, I didn't put that in. His name is Ray Wise in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but what is he? Is he a theological character from some sort of heavenly place? He's not God, but he's some sort of guardian angel who's got some sort of insider information. I mean, so this is where we come back to the Ukraine and the Cossacks and all of this. I mean, and that story was from like 1770 something, or I didn't write the number down. We talk about this, and he brings up Helga. He brings up Rabbi Nachman. All these like random, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I wrote down the word Lecha, but that's later when she's talking about the. This is really pissing me off that I can't remember this. But anyway, so I'm trying to decide if this Yuri is just a reincarnation of the other Yuri, because that's why, even as young as he is, why would he be talking about people eating their children, and these people dying and all of that crazy stuff? And it's almost as if this character has lived other lives. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Or am I off on some sort of like rando tangent that you're like, oh God, where'd he go? What happened?
Nope, I'm all on board with this stuff.
I just don't think it's physically possible for it to be the same guy unless he doesn't age.
Or else we just kind of take just his physical looks just out of the equation and just realize that maybe they just cast this guy because he's awesome and he's got a cool look, and maybe he doesn't necessarily look as old as he should be to have murdered somebody in the 80s. And that happens, Louis C.K. talked about that on his show a little bit, and he was just like, yeah, I have because on his show, not to get too far off on a tangent, but
go ahead.
He has a black wife in the show and he has two very pale white daughters, and people are like, well, why would you have a black wife? And he's like, you know what? She's an awesome actor. Who cares? Get past it. Yeah. So maybe it's something just as simple as that too. Like, okay, maybe he doesn't look as old as he should look. Who cares? Just it's a story.
Yeah. There's some sort of connection, because here in this bowling alley, which, so then let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, here's the deal. I really don't think we need to talk about the scene with the arrows and the wood. And I love that it turns into this just super bloody scene. And it's started by, this weird hanging like target in the trees, which is kind of creepy in and of itself when they've come across this, that there's a, you think,
wasn't
oh my God,
that the hunters? One of the hunters?
No.
It wasn't?
No, it's a stuffed thing. It's fake.
Oh, I thought it was like one of the hunters that they killed.
No, if you go back and pause at like 12:43, it's like got a round face and just stitches for a mouth and stuff. But it's more interesting that it's a place where somebody was practicing hunting people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So it's this creepy thing, right? And there's all these beer cans and stuff laying around, but so I don't know. I mean, it's a really fun, intense scene, and the whole losing an ear thing was really interesting. But I don't think it's nearly as important.
Oh yeah, it's
as
definitely a stuffed.
wandering into this Nowheresville bowling alley. So, are they really in a bowling alley? Is this real? So this is where I feel like I could maybe include some. Well, quickly, the bowling alley is from our insider information. The bowling alley is in Calgary. They didn't use any of the exterior, or they must have built something to change it and then corrected it all in post. So the bowling alley exterior is made from scratch, is what he said, and it doesn't look like the actual alley. It's like in a strip mall, but the inside really does look like that. It's called Let's Bowl. So go to letsbowl.ca if you want to check that out. Thanks again to our friend Jay up there. And then we did get some hardcore theory from Mark that I don't know if we agree with, but there is a lot. I know there's a lot of Twin Peaksy conversation around this, but
do you feel that there would be Twin Peaksy conversation if the actor wasn't Ray Wise?
I don't know. Maybe not. And everybody's excited about Twin Peaks coming back. But
yeah.
There was one thing that I know, Mark, you'd said, just addressing this, Mark, that what bowling alley would be open on Christmas Day, but we got to remember this was nighttime that this all happened, right? Or was this morning that they ran across this?
I think it's getting
night.
To be morning, isn't it?
It's pretty damn dark if you pause when we get to the bowling alley. It's yeah. Okay. Granted, who would watch a bunch of bloody people walk into a bowling alley and not say shit either? But
this is
the
why
bowling alley's completely dark when they show up. Go to 1702 and you can see it. So I don't know if this place is necessarily real or not real.
Oh, yeah.
Meaning, like, are they in a mystical place? What's happening? Because Mark is kind of. I'll probably screw up what you're saying here, Mark. So sorry, but. He's saying this mystical shit is to forego an alibi, but he's like, why would it be open on Christmas Day? Well, technically it's Christmas Eve, because we know Christmas Day doesn't happen until the next day. I don't think so, but
either way,
the story we have is real. Either
way, in that area, a bowling alley would definitely be open on Christmas Eve and/or Christmas Day, lots of places are open on Christmas because. People are trying to get away from their family, to be honest.
Yeah. But he thinks something else happened. He thinks Wrench tortured Yuri, cut his ear off, and killed him at the bowling alley, and that they're making up some other story. And then Nikki stole that car, and bananas. But
I don't subscribe to that idea, but I love hearing interesting other takes.
He also thinks they're the ones who murdered the motorists and the hunters, and later blamed their murders on Yuri and DJ Quell's character, who went unnamed, who did not survive to tell the tale. Not sure if I agree. I don't think currently, and the reason, well, who knows? We don't know what we don't know. Interesting things, though. Thanks, Mark.
Yes, for sure. Let's talk about the bowling alley. I for sure think it's not real.
I think it's some sort of purgatory.
Yeah, it's some sort of purgatory. I mean, it's fairly obvious that they're not in the real world, I think, when they're sitting in this bowling alley, because everybody is like covered in blood, and the bowling alley manager who's asking Nikki if she wants some shoes, I mean, he's never fazed by the fact that she's covered in blood or she's clearly like messed up or disturbed. And especially when we get to Yuri and he's like drenched in blood, and the guy's like, what can I get you anything? And so that wouldn't happen in a real world bowling alley. You would be
right.
This is clearly like some sort of extraordinary place.
Yes. There's tons of religious references that happen in this whole thing, and historical things that happen. It's like, but I'm just super happy that it's another big Lebowski reference, which you guys know by now makes me happy. That they show up there, but there is no Jesus Quintana. But those guys are just like mopping the lane. And the minute I saw that,
oh my god, yes, I'm glad you had the same feeling.
I was just like, oh man! But the minute that camera started panning away, I knew it wasn't going to be Sam Elliott, because I had mentioned to you that the character, Ray Wise, right? No, God,
that's the actor. Right?
Yeah, but I just knew, I called it because I said in the thing, he's like the stranger. He's like Sam Elliott. Like, because we've already seen the guy in the LA episode when Nikki went to Hollywood. When Gloria went to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean,
so
you nailed
that
though, because you said that he was sort of a Sam Elliott character.
And here he is finally filling that role.
Like, perfectly. Like, I mean, it doesn't get more obvious than that.
Yeah, and he makes a ton of like Old Testament, Jewish references here between Rabbi Nachman, and there's a part where he says Job sat on his dung heap covered in boils, and all this stuff. And I'm going to move this just ahead because I thought the funny part is like a beetle. It was also a joke, and there's also a beetle in The Big Lebowski that's following him in the film. But I also thought that there's also references in the Bible, you can look it up, about dung beetles. So they're in, everybody's in this giant pile of shit, and the only way out is this.
So that was the reference to the irony?
No, I think it's just ironic that it's not really a good getaway card either,
Okay. Well, I guess to me, I was going like a little bit too obvious maybe, in that I was thinking it was ironic because he's talking about, this guy, the character's name is Paul Moraine, who's the wandering Jew.
Thank you. God, I'm screwing that up. Paul, by the way, Paul is a Jewish name. It comes from Saul.
Oh, it does. Interesting.
I believe so, yes. Yep.
I thought it was because it happened to be a German vehicle, and he's talking about like
that also works.
I about Jewish persecution, and there's been a lot of like anti-Semitism in the show from the evil characters. So I thought maybe the fact that the getaway car was a German vehicle was the irony. But
it is funny now that you say that. Just
I like your dung reference though.
Well, it's dung beetles and all this, but yes, Paul is comes from the Hebrew name Saul originally, and it means small or humble. But yeah, she's like, she has this whole, he's like, life is suffering. I think you're beginning to understand that. She says, amen. There's all this conversation about the cabal. I mean, I don't know if we want to go super deep catalog on that because it's just so wide open for interpretation, but
because it's a religious context.
Because it's a religious context, and I think everybody's going to weave their own. Here's that stupid word, Yule or whatever, and I don't even know how to spell it. Is it Jujul? No, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just trying to figure out the thing he was talking about the thing, but it's from the Cabal, and that's also what Rabbi, I'm so all over the map today, sorry. Rabbi Nachman is from. It's part of this. You can look up Nachman of Breslov, Nachman of Breslov, and anyway, he's very famous. And he had a Hasidic movement combining the esoteric secrets of Judaism with in-depth Torah scholarship, etc. Lots of followers and influence and things like that, and yeah. So this real heavy-handed Judaism and Christianity going on in this, because obviously the two are very closely paired. Mm. But I thought it interesting that he had insider information about, that Numbers, they know who Numbers was, and that they feel he's taking a different path. So we don't know. In all these years, he's been in, possibly in jail, because last time we left Numbers in season
Wrench?
Wrench. Sorry, last time we left Wrench we left him in the hospital, right?
Yep.
So now we know, and maybe
Wrench was spared by Lorne Malvo, because Wrench was Lorne's like closest, the adversary to Lorne that came the closest to killing him. So Lorne spared Wrench his life. When he actually could have killed him, but he had respect that he had become so close to ending Malvo's life that he let him go. And that was the last we saw of them, of Wrench in the hospital.
Yeah.
And then we saw him as a little kid in season 2, and then now we're seeing him now. So, but what you're referencing, I loved how the Paul Moraine character is talking about how some say, he should have stayed, but now he's here. It just makes this whole world so interesting, like this purgatory type thing where they're
right
being judged, I guess, sent on their next mission, kind of, or just sent to their next, I guess, their final destiny.
Right.
And Nikki's happens to be vengeance, I guess. Getting the bad guys.
Because you got to remember that the Old Testament, at least from my standpoint, growing up as growing up in a Christian faith, the Old Testament was a lot more brutal and vengeance. Vengeance was part of that. Eye for an eye kind of deal. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not purgatory, because that's a Christian construct by and large, a Catholic Christian construct, but it's some sort of place. I don't know if this is the mount where you go up and you get to meet with God or a messenger from God, or you're somewhere, but we're obviously in a spiritual place. That's a bowling alley.
Yeah. And I love how Wrench is just kind of sitting way off in the background, sitting at a lane, sipping his whiskey, kind of apart from this entire conversation, which is to character for him. He's kind of a loner type of dude, especially now that his really is, we could maybe assume his only friend in life, Numbers, is no longer around. So he just kind of plays this loner character that takes care of himself and a little bit other people when he gets a chance. He is also a murderer, let's not forget.
What? No, he's atoned for that. He's fine now.
Gotcha.
He's fine.
The
big JC is giving him, the thumbs up on that, being like, whoops, sorry about that. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, that's how it works. So it's this this bowling alley scene is what I think the fans love about this Coen Brothers universe, and this is what we want to see. This is what makes this type of storytelling different from a lot of other like standard primetime television shows or even movies.
Yeah.
This is the quirkiness, just a different way of thinking that is what made the Coen Brothers films fantastic and popular among a certain group of people. And I loved bringing that in. It's finally, I shouldn't say the word finally, but we're really seeing the true essence of Fargo in this episode. And I think it's something we've been craving for a lot this season. Not that the show hasn't been great and entertaining, but it's this style of storytelling. We saw a little bit earlier, especially in that, I think the third episode with like the cartoons and stuff, which is kind of fun. Just different, unique ways of storytelling that sort of push some barriers and make you think a little bit and rethink a little bit, especially because of this one line, Ray is the cat. Immediately you're like, oh, fuck, what? So you're thinking like, wait, was Ray the cat the whole time? It's that type of writing that I love so much because it makes you go back and sort of revisit scenes. And then when you're doing that, you're re-experiencing things and you're getting more out of the show than just a linear watching it on a Wednesday night hour-long entertainment while I do whatever kind of thing. It makes it makes the show more valuable because it increases the entertainment value on many levels, because then you're thinking about it throughout the day. Like, is Ray the cat? Was Ray the cat? Is Ray the cat now? Who's Nikki now? It's that kind of stuff that I just, when he said Ray's the cat, it may have been my favorite line in the entire episode. And then he's like, no, I call the cat Ray. And then it kind of puts you back in your place like, okay, so are they fucking with me or what's going on?
Yeah, are you just making a joke? Well, because that's exactly where he talks about that stupid word that I can't remember that I finally got. It's I'm going to say it wrong, but it's Gilgul. You can spell it a couple different ways. Gilgul, but it's also a Kabbalistic phrase for the concept of reincarnation, and it means technically cycle or wheel. But in plural, which is neshamat, is the plural for soul. Yeah, just go to Wikipedia. It's there. So is it really Ray? But I think even if it isn't, and whatever he's trying to do for her here, right? She's able to have a somewhat act of contrition with the cat, isn't she?
What do you mean?
Well, like she's able to. It's because he's like it's an old soul that attaches itself to a new body. So this is, sorry for just 1 second. This is gonna, before we come back to the Ray thing. It's an old soul that attaches itself to a new body, and that's where I'm doing the whole like we don't know when or how the old Yuri Gurka died, right? So maybe he would have died, and then a few years later he could have got attached to a new person and became another Yuri Gurka. Because if you think about it, from 1990 to whatever, you were at 2010 at the time of this jailbreak. That's like 30 years.
Yeah, true.
Or not 30, 20. And that's about the age of him. So I'm just trying to imagine the lifespan of a shitty criminal or a murderous criminal in East Berlin in the late 80s.
Sure.
Anyway, we don't know.
And
yet,
I guess the Pomeranian Wandering Jew character does say to Yuri when he eventually comes into the bowling alley that he has a message. Yuri Gurka, he has a message from Helga Albrecht and the rabbi. So, yeah, I think you're right about the old soul attaching to a new body. Because he happens to be a Yuri. Okay, so
come back to this scene. They're holding the kitten, and there's the mass grave in the garden, right?
Yeah. So here is what's going on. Ray is the cat. Ray is now Nikki. Nikki and Ray are one soul now. Ray's soul is attaching to Nikki because Nikki's the cat. That we know, or up until this point at least. So now Ray lives through the cat, Nikki, and that's why Nikki is going on this. Not just a vengeance raid, but she's going to bring down the bad guys, which is kind of what the Ray Weiss character, Paul Moraine, is telling her to do, to bring down the baddies. So she is now assuming the role of Nikki and Ray, and they together are the cat. And
sure. Yeah, because there was a comment somewhere in there about binding, right? Binding two souls together. Do you remember him saying that? No, I need to look back.
I don't remember.
I'm saying I'm supporting your theory that they're sort of combined, or at least they're close to it. But
Ray no longer has to be the duck. He's He's in transition from duck to cat.
Yeah, I do think there was an interesting thing in this whole thing though, where they're talking about, and she's like, "Have you been to this place before?" And she's like, "A bowling alley?" And he's like, "Oh, is that what you see?"
Yeah, is that what you see? Is that what you think this place is? Is that what he says?
Yeah, something like that. And so I thought, interesting. I also thought of Pravda na Pravda a little bit again. Not that anyone's lying to each other here, but that everyone's own information enforces what they think they see. Their own understanding to a degree. I did really like. Man, I could watch this scene over and over again, and just. But I don't have time for that. I just want to read. It's full of a lot of cleverness that I'm not sure you completely need, but
it's definitely worth watching like 2 or 3 times, with some resources at your fingertips. Because I mean, if you do that, you're going to get the most out of it, and that's what I mean about just the increased value in the show. Through scenes like this. Yeah.
I was trying to figure out if there was some sort of link to his, like, why is he drinking sherry, but I couldn't find anything about that.
So Yuri, when he's, just to get back to Yuri a little bit, I love how he's just like, just blood is just pouring out of his body. And, and the bowling alley guy is just like, here's some napkins.
He just like, let me,
whatever.
'Cause that's
no big deal.
A couple cocktail napkins will hold that up.
Do you think it's safe to assume that Yuri is dead and that he is like basically being sent to hell right now in this moment? Because I think so. He is like, blood is like gushing out of his head, and we assume that that's from Wrench's axe throwing abilities, right?
Yeah. I think he might be dead. I think he might be. I think we've launched into a mystic moment here. I don't know. Like, this is what I'm saying. I don't know if the bowling alley really does exist. So this is where maybe, to some degree, Mark maybe is right, maybe he's wrong. But we're in something strange because nobody in here is reacting strangely to what's going on. And he's having this giant philosophical discussion that is very Lebowski-esque, but on a completely deeper level. If you think about what happens in The Big Lebowski, if I remember, he's like, he asks Lebowski about what's going on out there, and he says, that's the line where, sometimes the bar eats you and sometimes you eat the bar. And Jeff Lebowski's just like, well, strikes and gutters, man. Except here they're having this like deep theological discussion about rising up against an aggressor, and you need to do it, and people are here to be judged at the bowling alley. I'm just like, holy shit, okay.
They're here to be judged, and it's also like a crossroads, I think, because from this bowling alley, they're going to their next destiny. And for Nikki and Wrench, they just happen to get a pass for the sake of challenging these evil doers and these evil characters, whereas Yuri goes toward the path of hell and facing the destruction he's caused, and we can probably assume he's not getting out of that.
Yeah, and I think that because that's eventually he's like, take the Volkswagen, and I'm still thinking about what you talked about, because I know he says something about, now that I'm in the right section of my notes, he says, it's the universe at its most ironic, and he says, don't worry, its sins have been swept clean. And I'm thinking, is that a reference to that the Volkswagen was the people's car and was a concept delivered by Ferdinand Porsche in its early days, and that it was supposed to be an affordable ride for all Germans to get around in, and it was strongly supported by by Hitler. And so a lot of people have a lot of misgivings early on about the Volkswagen, and it makes me wonder if they say, "Oh, its sins have been wiped clean." Is that a reference to just the eradication of the Nazis and the Nazi Party? And so it's like, it's okay, it's like a Volkswagen, because I can tell you that Volkswagen is it's probably a 72, 73, 74, based on the bumper and the taillights. Sorry, guys, I'm a Volkswagen nerd, and I actually own one. So anyway, that's more information than you needed, but he's like, take it, and you and your friend should get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we come back to, man, I'm really stuck on this one. I want to think more about it. Like, I want to do a whole nother show, but we won't. Well, just because he comes back to this whole, it's where he does deliver the message, and she's just like, I have no idea what to tell you about that, because it's from Obadiah, from the Bible. Thou shalt exalt thyself like an eagle, and she's like, her face, thou will make my nest among the stars, and all that jazz. But I love that she's literally just got this like, okay, thou shall exalt myself, and he just is like, don't worry, you'll remember, you'll figure it out your own way.
Can you imagine though having a conversation like that in a place where it probably doesn't even feel real, because she's all bloody, and this bowling alley guy says nothing about it, but also she just escaped from almost being murdered twice. She escaped from a prison van. She ran through a forest chained to a deaf guy. She chopped a guy's head off with a chain. All of this shit has happened in like the last 12 hours, and she's now sitting at a bowling alley, and some guy's saying, thou exalt thyself as the eagle. Set thy nest among the stars. And she's like, what the fuck? And she's holding a kitten.
and maybe they're just setting her up for her own scene from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Yea, though I walk through the valley. I still think Nikki's a cat. I think
Nikki is the cat, but Ray is the cat too.
Yeah, I know, but I think now they're perfect for each other.
Yes.
Even that cat has like some stringy, wonky hair, just like Ray.
Simpatico.
Yeah, I love the fact though that she's like, hey, do me a solid.
Yeah. When the Gopher game's on. Put a bowl of beer. Put him in front of the TV with a bowl of beer. Is that what she said? Something like that.
Yeah, put a little bowl of beer and put it in front of the game. Because that's though when he says lech lecha, which is like go or leave. Lots of Hebrew. Yep.
Which has been very common throughout this entire series, not just this season, especially in the first season. But then there's also a lot of Jewish references in the second season with the Gerhardts and whatnot, which is odd for me, because in growing up in Fargo my entire life, there really is not a lot of Jewish culture, so that's like pretty foreign to me.
Nope, it is.
Especially
there's only one temple here, I think, in town.
Yeah, and I went to it, and it was very uncomfortable. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So, okay, we've covered this.
Yeah, okay. So then we revisit. So we have a couple instances where people die in this episode, and it's off screen, which is not foreign to the show Fargo, which is fine. Because a lot of times you can just leave that stuff out, and the story goes along just fine. The show saves money, and we save time and blah blah blah. The first group was the hunters. They're obviously dead. We know that the second. We didn't even have to see it. We knew it the second we saw Yuri holding the crossbow. It's like, all right, those guys are goners. We knew the couple driving by in their Jeep gets killed by Meemo. Didn't have to see it, but that was obviously a very original Fargo movie reference.
Yes.
Because
car was flipped upside down.
Car flipped upside down, and the two people were murdered execution style, which is exactly a direct reference to the movie Fargo.
Yeah.
So that whole scene was kind of interesting. I was kind of expecting to see a little joke from Gloria, maybe in the essence of Marge, about the dealer plates or whatever.
Right.
But that may have been a little bit too far, and I think we did that in season 1 anyway already. But that was another interesting case of denial, as you said, of superior men figures denying the women in the show that are clearly ahead of the game in regard to all the men that are their superiors. Yeah, except for maybe Officer Dingledorf.
It's just like they're the old guard, and they're just stuck in their ways, and they're going to continue to do it the way they've always done it, and this is what they think is all going on with that. So, dorks. This is the saddest entrance into the color grading and all that in this. The Emmit Stussy house is definitely not as. The white's not as white anymore. Did you notice that in the scene?
Yeah, definitely.
The
air is dusty.
Faded. Yeah.
The air is dusty because you can see the sun rays through the windows as Meemo's like doing his weird dances.
I also love when Meemo slammed the door on him.
Yeah. What is Meemo? Is he like a ballerina now, or what the hell is going on?
I don't understand what he is. I don't understand. He's fun though. I like that he's like. He is a really good yin to the yang of Yuri. Yuri's going to tell you exactly what he's about by describing things to you, and Meemo's like,
Yuri's not going to shut the fuck up, basically.
Yeah, and Meemo's like eating a healthy apple and dancing to like jazz and like classical music, and he is everything Yuri is. He's brute force, and Meemo is stealth.
Yeah.
But yes, I love that he's just constantly tiptoed, dancing around.
And then we revisit Ray and, Sai and Varga with another cup of liquid beverage.
Don't drink out of that guy's cup.
He's already
what have we learned?
He's already just like scarred from the idea of having to drink something that Varga has given him, and now and Varga and Meemo are just in his face, like 2 inches away from his face with the tea.
Yes.
Both of them just crowding him like there is no way you're getting out of drinking this tea, motherfucker.
I just realized something. I don't know if it's real or not, but it's pretty traditional Christmas fare either way. But so DJ Quell / Road Trip or whatever you want to call him was wearing a pig mask, right?
Yep.
And who was the duck? Ray?
Ray's the duck.
It's interesting. VM is serving up ham and what appears to be some sort of fowl. Maybe it's a goose. Maybe it's duck. Maybe it's turkey. But interesting. But those are the 2 pieces of meat he's serving up or trying to put on a plate.
Mm-hmm.
Are the 2 animals that are deceased as of right now.
What I love about this is a couple things, because I think that massive heaping plate of food,
yes,
as well as the mentioning of the "You're $5 million richer," is Varga's way of basically kind of putting out these truths, I guess, I put that in air quotes, in front of Sai to say, like Varga's on your side. Varga's taking care of you, good old buddy. Look at this big plate of food. Look at we're feasting. You're $5 million richer. Of course, like, why would I poison you with tea? Why would I harm you? Look at what I'm doing for you. I'm your buddy, your daddy. I think that's why he brought those 2 things up: the big plate of food and the $5 million. So of course he's going to drink poison,
right?
Because
Well,
I mean,
does
why
he
would
really
I
have a choice?
I know, but he doesn't have a choice. So fair enough. But why would you think somebody's going to poison you after they just dumped $5 million in your bank account? Which he doesn't really know if it's true. I mean, it's not like he's checking.
Can I just at least state that is, with the exception of the asparagus, two spears of asparagus, it is the perfect Midwest-looking plate.
The asparagus adds a little bit of unrealistic color.
Yes. Everything else, though, the stuffing, the carrots, that happens. Carrots happen.
Yeah, carrots do happen.
But there's white bread, and there's this meat and potatoes and stuffing, and everything is covered with a little bit of gravy. But yeah, I'm a little worried that on the other side of the plate I see some sort of lettuce. That's definitely not a Midwestern, but the majority of that
cabbage
plate, and the amount of food on that plate is very Midwestern Christmas.
Yes, when you load up a plate that you load it up so much to the fact that you don't even know how you're going to start to eat it without pushing something off of the plate.
You always start high. You got to start with a fork high, and you dig into that first bit of mashed potatoes, and you start to create a crater in which to push the rest of the potatoes back into.
You're building a nest.
I love the VM Varga here who goes like, eat all this. Don't let it go to waste. Think of all the starving children. This from a guy who eats the food and then throws it up. It's like not even good for anyone after that.
Yeah.
Dick. I do love the scenes of this. Like, can you imagine the closeness? There's a little bit of hilarity here for me when he's like, "Oh, would you like a cup of tea?" And there's this just super tight shot of their faces together, left and right. And then when he's like, "You want this tea?" And then out of nowhere, Meemo's hand just like slams the cup around his face into the scene. Like, where did that come from?
Yep.
But that's Meemo,
And then he drinks the tea and immediately gets escorted out after being shown that huge plate of food.
Well, then he's like, "No, I don't need sugar." And then he's like, just one more drink. And they of course show us one more time this liquid in his mustache. And gross. Maybe that's what happens when you mix tea with ball water.
Maybe Varga has poisonous balls.
The minute he said it's a little bitter, I was like, yeah, it's poisoned.
Yeah. I guess we kind of got that right too, because we think last week that Sai was gonna sort of meet his demise this week.
We were concerned about it because we both really like him as a character. I'm glad to know that he's not lost and gone. I hope not.
Yet. And I say yet. Quoting VM Varga.
Yeah, that is true.
And we had another one of those upside down topsy-turvy camera shots while Sai was getting rushed into the hospital.
Yeah, what is it he says right before he pukes, though, that's like so great?
He says something like, well, that ain't right.
Yeah, that's right. Is that what it is?
Something like that. Well, that's not right.
Yeah, well, that's not right. Sorry, I had to back up and see.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
So then we have our first time jump, really.
Yeah, which is weird. It is a really good thing, though. It shakes. They do time hops like this in TV and film all the time because it shakes us up.
It shakes us up, but also not a ton seems to have changed. I mean, it's a time hop, but really everything is mostly the same. I mean, we know that we can assume that Nikki and Wrench are still kind of on the run. They haven't been busted, but as far as everything else, what else has changed? What is the time hop illustrating for us? Is it just to illustrate that Nikki and Wrench have been plotting, or maybe not Wrench, but just Nikki has been plotting this whole time? What is the purpose of the time hop? That's what I'm wondering.
There's a little bit about the time hop that makes me realize that some crimes and some things don't get solved overnight. It takes time and energy and resources and thought, And I think it also tells us that despite being pushed down and pushed away from the forefront of this case, that we find out that Emmit is actually trapped at this point. He's a prisoner in his own life, in my opinion, and that 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 Gloria and Winnie are still hot on this trail on their own time, even though we find out that Gloria is officially demoted down to deputy and she's in storage room B,
Is storage room B worse than the Eden Valley Public Library?
Pretty much the deal, like that Russian fella. She talks about him. But yeah, and then this is where we're having this moment as the viewer of, is he seeing the things he's seeing? Is that your brother's car? Is this what's going on? Who's behind it? So what do you make of all this? Is he going crazy, or is the fact that the assistant comes into his office with all the 2-cent stamps and she sees them all? Well, I thought he was just redecorating, but she never claims they're the 2-cent stamps. So we don't know if what he's seeing is what he's seeing.
That's a very, very, very good point, and I didn't even remotely think about that.
Yeah,
which I should have, because that has been the theme all season. So you're right. Are those pictures even the 2-cent stamps? Was the Corvette on the top of the parking garage, or was he just looking at his car and seeing a Corvette and turning around saying, "I must have parked somewhere else"?
Well,
when in reality,
they did say, wasn't that your brother's car?
They did say that. They did say that. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to go with he is seeing this. I personally think that this is Nikki and Wrench have figured out how to plot to do all this. I think this is Nikki and Wrench behind all this.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because this is all about the 2-cent stamp. She's the only one who would know this. Like, I don't know. I mean, what benefit would VM have to driving him, or does he want to drive him crazy? Is he slow? I don't know. God, this is a good thing.
I mean, I think this is a win for the audience in that we're seeing Nikki's comeback. She's been plotting for the last few months. She's been in hiding. Vargas claims that she's probably in Canada. We don't know. Canada's only a few hours away anyway. I think this is for the audience to kind of root for Nikki and to try to and get back for Ray, because Nikki is now sort of this combination of Nikki and Ray. So she's going after all the people that have wronged them, whether that's justified or not. Doesn't matter. But I think it's like it's a fun thing for the audience. I think it's Nikki's doing. I do find it. I did really, really love. If it is Nikki doing this, I love her sneakiness of it. I love the fact that she was able to, and we don't know, this is speculation, paste a mustache onto Emmit. and what even took this over the top was that Emmit noticed it while he was pissing. Emmett's first noticing of the fact that he has a mustache, I guess he couldn't feel it on his face, was seeing himself in a reflection of urine, which is such a freaking great way to reference Ray, because I mean, Everybody knows Ray freaking tested piss all day long, all the time as a probation officer.
Right.
So for that reflection of Ray's face to come through the urine in a black toilet was, I thought, pretty brilliant.
Also, we got some shoes leading up to it.
Yeah.
But Mad, you're a wicked pisser.
And then and then we get that shot of VM Varga taking a dump.
I did think about that, and I think I actually had a note that was like, "Why do we need to see VM shitting?" Like, I don't know. I'm confused.
I'm confused too.
And why is VM's trailer in a new location? And why is Meemo reading a kid's book in that trailer? Sorry,
is Meemo reading Peter and the Wolf?
I couldn't tell.
I couldn't either.
That's somewhere though where he tells that whole thing of like you won life. He goes into that whole spiel. Sorry, I can't stop thinking about VM Varga pooping. It's so gross. Oh God, why does he poop? He doesn't keep any food in him anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know much about bulimia, sorry. But I think the important part of this scene though is where he's talking about the transgressions he had, transgressions and death, and yeah, red pills, 2 red pills though.
He did not take the red pills.
Oh, the one he opened his eyes and his hand fell open, I was like, sweet.
Mm-hmm. Emmett's house now is beginning to look like this like evil castle.
It's like the Outlook. It's like the Outlook.
Oh yeah, it is like the Outlook. Interesting.
Yeah, all the light in it is no. That's why I said everything that was white is now like old, old and just like yellow, and everything's incandescent, and yeah, things have definitely changed in 3 months, and maybe that's what this time shift is about. Is that things have changed, but things haven't changed.
I guess I'm a little bit. I mean, I'll take the time jump, but I'm a little bit skeptical as if it was required.
Yeah,
it felt off to me. But it doesn't bother me that much, I guess. I guess maybe it adds a little bit of exhaustion because as the viewer, it's like 3 months has gone by and we're still sitting here.
Well, because you know what it says is that it says that basically in 3 months no one has moved forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like they haven't gotten shit done.
Although Varga has apparently been doing some business. I guess they have shopping malls and stuff now, or maybe they don't. That's what he says. Who knows what's true anymore?
Yeah, he's like, I have a shopping center.
So, what did you think about Varga bringing up the Japanese guy, Hiro Onada or something? The guy that never stopped fighting World War II, which is a true story.
I think it was a really long diatribe of in VM Varga style to just tell Emmett to just give it up, that he can't live with those ghosts. Stop fighting the war. The war is over. Stop. Because he's like, you won. Stop.
Sure.
And I just think it was in very classic VM Varga style to like overly in depth his story.
Okay.
Lieutenant Hero battled on.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I didn't make anything major of it.
Okay, I like your thoughts there.
Nice tie into the same war that brought up East and West Berlin, though.
Yeah.
So basically, we're finally full circle. We find out Gloria's in the supply room. She's no longer chief. She's a deputy, just like the other guy. And somewhere along the way, she just thinks, you know what? F it. I'm going to sign this thing. It's time.
She's starting to button some shit up.
Yeah, she's like, why keep living in this? Because you could see the paperwork was delivered. I wrote down in 2010.
Mm-hmm. And it is officially 2011 now.
Yeah. Anyway,
so there we have it. So now next week, actually, in just a few days, episode 9,
because Emmett wants to confess. My name's Emmett Stussy.
Yep. And he wants to confess.
I want to confess.
He's gone, like you say, full circle. He's always had feelings for Ray. It's not like he didn't have feelings for Ray. He didn't murder Ray. That was an accident.
Yes.
But these guys, these Varga characters, are just getting away with a bunch of shit. Now his right-hand man, Sai, is in the hospital. Like, he's fed up. He's tired. He doesn't care if he admits that he killed, that Ray died at his hands, even though it was an accident. And, that'll be manslaughter. He'll go to jail for a long time.
Right.
He doesn't care anymore. He's exhausted. He needs to put these fellas to an end.
Yeah, he's reached his mental capacity of what he can deal with. And that, I think we've talked a little bit about that. He wants to be a nice guy. He's like, listen, I'm a nice guy. I support these types of charities. I joked about it being about like Little Lebowski's Urban Achievers, but he wants to be viewed as a good person. It's more core to his personality than we really always understand, I think. And the other side of that thing is that Ray was kind of a good guy, but in the end wants what he wants or thinks he deserves, regardless of how it makes people feel about him, because he had a solitary vision that was he and Nikki's future only.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that's where we go. Hopefully. So if we forgot anything, give us shout outs and everything, and we'll come back. We promise there's going to be a hot dish this week.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a full episode. Man, I want to rewatch this episode again.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it again for sure.
Pretty good show. Good stuff going on, and I think we finally got what we've been kind of waiting for. So,
yep.
So I think until next time, dude.
Here we go.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll catch up with you next time.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging in there, everybody. We'll see you in a few days with a fresh hot dish.
Later.
Later. Bye now.